Hey everyone, I'm Jessie Perry, and I usually teach second grade, third grade Sunday school, and I am going to teach your Sunday school lesson today. So let's go ahead and start. This is Paul is changed. So Paul was a Jew that studied in Jerusalem, and his Hebrew name was Saul. So he was a Pharisee, and Pharisees were Jewish leaders who believed the best way to serve God was to obey the law of Moses. So the Pharisees believed in the old law of Moses and didn't really believe in Jesus and that he was the Messiah. So in Acts 9, which we are going to read in just a minute, we see Paul living out his beliefs. He was so passionate about his beliefs as a Pharisee, and he was very determined to make trouble for followers of Jesus, actually. He wanted to arrest Jesus and his followers and take them back to Jerusalem. So he believed what he was doing was right. He believed he was following the laws and following and doing what he thought was right, but ultimately it really wasn't. So on his way to Damascus, a city, he encountered Jesus, and his life was changed forever. So let me read Acts 9, verse 1 through 19. It says, "Meanwhile, Saul," which is Paul, "was still breathing out murderous threats against the Lord's disciples. He went to the high priests and asked him for letters to the synagogues in Damascus." That's the city I was telling you about. "So that if he found any there who belonged to the way, whether men or women, he might take them as prisoners to Jerusalem." So that means if he met anyone who followed Jesus, if he could take them as prisoners. "As he neared Damascus on his journey, suddenly a light from heaven flashed around him. He fell to the ground and heard a voice say, 'Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me?' 'Who are you, Lord?' Saul asked. 'I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting,' he replied. 'Now get up and go into the city, and you will be told what you must do.'" Crazy, right? The men traveling with Saul stood there speechless. They heard the sound, but they did not see anyone. Saul got up from the ground, but when he opened his eyes, he could see nothing. So they led him by hand to Damascus. For 3 days he was blind and did not eat or drink anything. So that is the story of how Saul was basically turned into Paul because he encountered Jesus. He heard the voice of Jesus and he believed from that point on. So basically what your lesson today is about is the example of how God can use people for his purpose. So it's an example of God's ability to use anybody to carry out God's work. God was able to use his determination in a positive way. After Saul's encounter with Jesus, he turned to Paul and lived out his belief in God and shared the good news of Jesus with others.